Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Nat 20 Podcast, the Dungeon Masters Workshop, with Kate.
Heyo.
Yep. Hi, Kate. And I'm Jacob. Hi.
We figured that much.
Well, you never know. People could be, tuning in for the first time and not know who the heck I am or what I'm famous for, which is absolutely nothing. So, anyway. So, last time on the Dungeon Masters Workshop, we figured out, what you were going to do with your campaign, your quests, your situations, what you were going to put your players through, basically.
Yes.
So, quick rundown of how you were going to do that. Do you know how it's going to all lay out?
I got a rough estimate.
Let's just go through what you're going to do.
Alright, we left off with them if they're choosing to fight the dragon, if I remember right.
Oh, no, that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about how to actually build this part of it.
Okay, then no clue what you're talking about.
So, just go through from beginning to end, as to, what you were going to... What we were talking about, from party meeting to going through the cave to dragon to...
Yeah, we already discussed that.
I know, but just a quick rundown as to what we were talking about.
Okay, so we talked about step 1, you gotta get your people, know what you're doing. Step 2, you get your setting and all that. Step 3 is actually creating your storylines. You need to get your side characters all sorted out.
Okay. We're at a misfire. I'm talking your story.
That's what I started with a dragon. You're confusing the hell out of me right now.
I think we're on two different pages of the same book.
Apparently.
So what I'm asking for is for basically run down your campaign, what we have so far, the recap, if you will.
You want me to tell what I have for my story idea, what I have the people doing?
Yeah, essentially.
That's what I started with.
Okay, you said the dragon. I'm like, no, we're not to that yet.
Well, I thought we weren't going over it all again. Okay. Anyways, we start with our characters in a bar. What'd I write down? I forget. Okay. We start with the characters in a bar. They hear about this mystical treasure guarded by a dragon. It's got some interesting legendary items, so they're kind of curious. So if they decide to go after the treasure, they have to get into the dragon's lair. And, let's see, they gotta survive the few traps I got set up, then they gotta face the actual dragon. Now, this is where I actually got into it a little bit. Well, your two options are win or lose. Losing is more interesting, so we'll go to that. If you lose, you get captured. You got two options to get captured. You got break loose, or you're stuck. If you're stuck, we gotta figure out something to do there. So if you do break loose, you can fight again or run away. Run away, you go back to the town and find another story. If you fight again, you pretty much go through the same thing. But let's say you win this time, and you get a treasure. What do you decide to do with that treasure? Do you keep it, or do you go back to the town? You keep it, you risk getting the curse. And that's as far as I got figured out.
Okay, so we're going to go ahead and start actually building this campaign, essentially. And right now I'm shuffling through all my books to actually get down to one in particular that you may want.
The Dragonomicon?
Yes, exactly, the Dragonomicon. And that's just simply because you have the dragon. But again, this is for 4th edition. This is for 4th edition, but it will pretty much apply to any D&D game, plus or minus some mechanical issues. So right here I have... Well, we can forget about the Dragonomicon right now, but right now I have the two main things that are the Dungeon Masters' biggest friends, and those are the Dungeon Masters Guide, or the DMG, and the Monster Manual, which you could call the M&M, but it
sounds like candy.
Most people just call it the Monster Manual. I have some supplementary stuff that I've actually used to great frequency. The Dungeon Masters Guide 2, which has more rules and other things that we'll talk about later. And then the Dungeons & Dragons Essentials Monster Vault. This is the only Essentials thing that I actually allow in my games. There's a lot of Essentials things out there that works with 4th edition, but I find it more overpowered and a little broken, if anything. The Essentials, however, in the Monster Vault, the Essentials Monster Vault basically just expands on how many monsters you have available.
Gives you more options.
Yeah, where the Essentials, Player's Handbook, the Essentials version, basically overpowers certain powers and stuff like that, which I just really don't like. And I've just house ruled no essential stuff besides the monsters are allowed in my games. So, let's start with the brawl.
The brawl?
The brawl at the beginning, how your characters are supposed to meet.
Yeah, we did have a brawl, didn't we?
I think so.
I think so.
Well, that was my example.
Yeah, I don't think we really did much with the setup.
So they're just gonna meet up, and some old woman's gonna say, "Hey, you heroes, come help me with this," or whatever.
Well, the only thing I had kind of roughly sketched out was they're all at a very common tavern, and there's an old guy talking about this. Not an old guy, an adventurer talking about this treasure. But you need kind of a group to get out there because you don't want to take on a dragon alone. That's about as far as I got, but I haven't figured out how they actually connect yet.
And that can be on the fly kind of thing. That's one of those, improv acting kind of things you have to get your hands dirty with. So let's talk about rewards at first. In the Dungeon Master's Guide, actually, you have treasure parcels.
Okay.
And this will give you an idea as to how much something is worth in the game. Such as, you could start out a quest, and you have someone asking, well, how much are you going to pay me if I take care of it, kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And this will actually give you an idea of how much gold is per level, what everyone should get. So in a party of, let's say, 6 people, you should have 720 gold worth of items distributed among your players. Now, each one of these has we're just looking at, in the DMG page 126 of the 4th edition Dungeon Master's Guide, we're looking at page 126, I think I've iterated that already. Heroic tier treasure parcels. So level 1, within the span of a level, which is roughly 10 combats, you should give 1 magic item level 5, 2 magic items level 4, 1 magic item level 4, 1 magic item level 3, 1 magic item level 2, 200 GP, 1 or 2, or 2 100 GP gems, or 2 potions of healing. Basically, this is what should be awarded after every combat. Now, if you're throwing them more difficult combats that are worth more XP, you
give
can
them a little extra.
Well, you can combine many of these. In fact, I've played games where basically you start out and right out the gate, I throw everything at the players right away and say, have fun with it. And we just play a very loosey-goosey magic items are very easy to come by game. Where I've played other games where I make them a little harder. I throw them like slightly easier combats, but I take away 2 or 3 of these parcels.
Okay.
This is just basically a structured, bare bones works of like, this is how the math works behind the game to make it fair and balanced. You can make it overbalanced, you can make it underbalanced. Basically, it's your difficulty selector in any game where easy, normal, hard, and impossible.
Okay. For the most part, you don't want to balance it too hard. A little challenge here and there, but you don't want to completely kill your characters.
Exactly. But this is a good place to start looking at how is this dragon going to be easy for your characters to face against, or is it going to be a giant challenge? Dragons are usually challenges anyway, as is.
Well, since he's like the first real boss in the story, but he's kind of the big part because I just got a short story. He's going to be at least difficult, maybe not, extreme.
Mm-hmm. So, do you want your party to still be level 1 by the time you get to the dragon, or do you want them to be leveled up a little bit? Because that is a good starting point to figure out how many of these parcels do you want to give to your party before they end up at the dragon.
Well, I gotta come up with a lot more story if they're gonna be leveled up.
You don't have to, actually. You can instead throw a skill encounter.
True, it could be a lot in the journey up to the dragon.
Or you can just have, you come across a pillaged caravan on the side of the road. Okay, I loot the caravan. Well, you find a magic sword on the guy who is clear the guard. You find a signet ring on some rich woman, and you find a bunch of gold in a treasure chest. And you can throw him a bone without
making it. Yeah,
it's affectionately known as piñata play. Where basically you smash monsters and loot comes out.
Okay.
Which I tend to frown upon just because it's very video gamey. You hit wolf with sword and big great axe comes out of wolf for some reason and you have no idea why.
Apparently he was hungry.
Exactly. He ate an orc for lunch.
I probably would have him level up, make him a bit more, not filler story, but have a few more little things happen before they get up to the dragon.
And
Make the dragon more of the big boss.
and you're actually on fairly the right track where the dragon is kind of a overarching story, and you can plan like 1 or 2 sessions ahead to, this dragon doesn't have to be in the neighboring mountain. It can be terrorizing the village from
quite a ways
a
away,
continent
yeah.
away or something like that. And the long haul is to get to this dragon who's terrorizing the village. And, you have your little side quests on your way there. You have your little, hunky-dory Batman villains. I'll get you next time kind of people on your way there. You overthrow the Thieves Guild. You start a coup in a kingdom. And you rescue little Timmy from a well. Those are 3 quests right there. That's a skill challenge and 2 combat challenges right there that you can award parcels and even maybe level up your characters.
Not a bad idea. Definitely adds more to a story.
But I find the treasure parcels to be very good starting points as to gauging
How much you should give them.
or how fast you want to level up. Such as you don't have to, while the DMG gives a specific guideline as to how much XP a character should get at one point. It says in the DMG you can award more XP for, role playing or making, something out of the ordinary or something like that.
Yeah.
For example, I give 50 XP for every session that people attend that they actively role play. That's just a general award. And also, I like leveling up faster. That's just the video.
Yeah.
That's the video gamer in me, where it's like I've been level 10 for 2 straight years. Why am I not level 11 yet? Kind of thing does kind of wear down on someone at some point.
Yeah.
And also, there are sessions where you can go an entire, 5-hour session without picking up a single dice because it's all role playing, or you're all being tactical and mapping out how you're going to take the enemy's fortress. And that's a 4-hour session right there. And, you didn't get into combat. Should you not get any XP for that? No, it was an experience. You should be able to get something.
Yeah.
So reward them some experience for that particular planning phase.
Okay.
And it's just a way to kind of keep the ball rolling in a game.
Yeah.
'Cause,
You lose interest if it takes too long.
well, it's a very, it's a euphoric feeling to feel, you have milestones in life. You have achievements in life. I got a raise. I got a promotion. In D&D, it's I gained a level, et cetera, et cetera,
Yeah.
et cetera. I feel good because I can hit things harder now.
That is the best.
It's that euphoric feeling you get where it's like, I did something today. Yay!
Don't know that feeling too often.
Okay, so we talked about, planning stuff.
Yep.
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 Let's get into, here it is, skill challenges. Okay, so, we talked earlier about, a bar fight being a skill challenge. Trying to stealth your way through the castle and not alert the guards is a skill challenge kind of thing. Anything can really be a skill challenge. I use skill challenges as a way to progress story with dice rolls, basically.
Yeah.
To give that a random set of chance in it.
Well, it gives them a challenge in what they're doing. It's not just, okay, let's sneak past the guard. It's, let's see if we can do it.
And, these are kind of, I kind of house rule these. I actually house rule skills challenges a lot. But a good place to start is actually, in the DMG, page 72 is a small chart where it says, skills challenge complexity. So if you have a simple challenge or a complexity of 1, you need 4 successes or 2 failures.
Okay.
A complexity of, 2 is 6 successes, 3 failures. I kind of house rule those because I want everyone to roll at least once
Yeah.
to be able to succeed. So that is usually my baseline of who, if you're playing with 6 people and the success rate is 4, there's a possibility that two people did not get to roll. So I tend to do baseline of,
As many players
many players as you have. And then for a simple one, cut that number in half and that's how many failures you get.
Yeah.
Now you can kind of, it's usually a 150 split where, however many successes you need, if you fail half of them, it's a failure. I tend to go a third of them, and it's a failure just to make it harder. Or instead of raising the difficulty class, which we'll talk about later, I tend to go, okay, you need 10 successes to win. If it's a simple one, you need 5 failures and you lose. If it's a medium one, you need 3 failures and you lose. And if it's a hard one, you need 2 failures and you lose.
Possible one, you're dead.
Exactly. But I tend to house rule those quite a bit. But as for difficulty class, okay, so here is on page 42 of the DMG is a difficulty class and damage by level.
Okay.
So basically, forget the damage for now.
Okay.
What we're looking at for a skill encounter is the difficulty class, or what number you have to hit to succeed a roll.
Okay.
So a level 1 through 3 challenge, an easy one is you have to hit 10 or above, a medium one is 15 or above, or a hard challenge is 20 or above.
Okay.
That's how hard you want to make this challenge.
That explains a few of the enemies.
That's not enemies, that's just skill encounters.
Okay.
We'll get to enemies later. This is just skill encounters. So if you want if you want, I try and pick up the trail of, this beast that's coming through. Okay, let's make this a skill encounter. Nature check, roll of 5. Okay, that's not a good check. You fail that roll, kind of thing. That's the number you have to hit.
Okay.
These are all the tools you'll need to build a skill encounter. So you've got your situation, you've got your difficulty class, and you've got your how many rolls you're gonna need.
Okay.
That's a skill encounter. Done.
Pretty
So
straightforward.
yeah, let's make a skill encounter right now. What are you gonna do for a skill encounter?
Let's go with they are traveling down a very rocky path and their cart breaks the wheel. They get improvised to fix it. Nope.
Well, you can use that as a skill. I would call that more of a plot hook.
Okay.
How
about try to scale a cliff then?
Yeah, that would be better. Like
Okay.
a really high cliff,
Try and get through the mountains up to the Dragon's Keep. You gotta scale them.
That would be. Skill encounters work better as like a period of time thing. I mean, like in today's session, I used it as a fight, but that's still think of it like a montage. What do you see a montage in a movie? You see
what would take normal a long time to compress it with music.
Basically, yeah. But I use that. I think of in a skill encounter, would it make a good montage kind of thing? A fight scene makes a great montage. You see all the big hits and don't really.
Had to sit there and wait for each hit.
Exactly. Traveling a long period of time on a flying eagle would make a great montage. Would not exactly make a good sit there for 6 hours and you wait and you wait and your eagle is flying kind of thing.
Yeah.
Okay, so the scaling of the cliff is an easy climb. Is it a hard climb? Are there lots of handholds? Is this limestone? Is this granite?
Let's make it a moderate climb, difficult but not impossible.
Okay, and we've already established you've got like 6 people.
Yep.
So let's say, how big is this cliff kind of thing? Do you want 6 successes and they win, or do you want to add a little more and
Let's
make
go
the
with
cliff?
6. It seems like a pretty good number.
Go with 6 and just make it 3.
3 fails.
3 fails. And you want it moderate. So
Moderate, yeah. So
they have to hit. Okay, so that 15 and 6 successes or 3 failures. You have your skill encounter. Now it's just up
Gotcha.
to your players to figure out
They have
how.
to roll 15 or higher to make their whatever. I'm going to use athletics to be able to hang on to this rock and climb up.
Now, how are they going? What will happen if they succeed? What happens?
If they get to the top of the cliff, they continue on easily up to the Dragon's Keep.
If they fail, what happens?
Well, they gotta find another way around.
Or do they find it? They can either find another way around, or they could just make it to the top of the cliff. But it's such a long, hard climb, they lose a couple healing surges or something like that. It doesn't have to be a win-lose situation. It can be a win-win, but that second win can be
Hard on you.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
It was instead of we won this, it was a compromise kind of ordeal.
Yeah.
Which it can harm you or help you, but heaven help you.
Depending on which situation.
Okay, let's talk about. So we've got our skill encounters down. Let's talk about that dragon's place,
Okay.
or let's talk about combat.
Combat.
So they're in the dragon's. They're in the dragon's chamber.
Okay.
They're facing the minions.
Okay.
Are they sneaking through?
But they're actually in Dragon's chamber itself. They're at the end.
Well,
or are they just in the cave?
The minions at the front of the cave that we
They're
were talking about
ambushers.
last. The ambushers.
They're waiting if someone comes in to jump on them.
Okay. Have they set any traps?
First wave, yes.
Okay. So they like.
Simple snare traps.
Okay, actually, in the DMG, all through the DMG, is tons and tons of traps. Now let's get into combat. Actually, basically, on page 120 of the DMG is an experience point rewards graph, and it says monster level 1, standard monster 100, minion 25, elite 200, solo 500.
Gotcha.
Basically, what you're going to do, and actually, oh no, here it is. Encounter components. So on page 56 of the DMG, you have experience point rewards.
Okay.
And target encounter XP totals. So, on first level, your average encounter for 4 PCs will be 400. For 5 PCs would be 500. For 6 PCs would be 600 XP.
Pretty simple.
And basically all you do is once the encounter is done, everyone earns 100 XP if it's a 6-character party.
Okay.
What you're going to do is you're going to choose how difficult the encounter is going to be. So we've got 6 people.
Okay.
And this is where it gets a little leeway. Like, you have a lot of leeway in this for how much. Basically, your XP will be your currency for how tough you're going to make it. A level 1 encounter for a level 1 party is a standard encounter. It is your average fight. It could go either way kind of thing. A moderate encounter would be a level 2 encounter.
Okay.
So it's a little tougher fight, but it still has a fairly high probability for winning. And to have a big challenging, like the dragon descends upon you and people may die, go to encounter levels above what you're at. So a level 3 encounter for a level 1 party.
Okay.
That one's at 900 XP instead of your 600 XP.
Yep.
But for now, we're just going to worry about a 600 XP encounter for 6 PCs.
Okay.
So you're going to open up your monster manual, and we're going to find... You said you wanted ambushers.
Yes.
Actually, we're going to open up the Monster Vault because it's actually a lot better book. So, do you want them to be a certain species or no?
I think originally I'd say it's some along the lines of goblins.
Goblins?
But I'm not dead set on that.
Alright. So, players are divided into controller, leader, defender, and striker.
Okay.
Monsters are divided slightly different, except for instead of 4, they have 6. They have skirmisher, lurker, artillery, controller, leader, and I can't remember the 6th one, but there are 6. Brute, that's the other one. So, you wanted them to ambush them.
Yes.
There is literally monsters in here that are labeled like lurkers, which their entire state of being is to sit in the shadows and wait for something to come nearby.
That works.
So, or you can just stick skirmishers in there and make stealth checks. But the cat just knocked over something downstairs. Hooray.
Sound like a CD. She looks so proud of herself too.
So we have a few things that you can do. I'm just gonna suggest, make some stealth checks with stuff. If someone's perception beats someone's stealth check,
They obviously see him.
they obviously see him. Yeah, we'll get into that. However, you don't have to go with just goblins. What I like to do is find a monster in the book that meets my needs and then dress them up in silly hats and masks and make them look how I want them to.
Yeah.
But for now, we're just going to look at goblins and make a encounter.
Okay.
Now, we have level 1 goblin sniper, a level 1 goblin beast rider, a level 1 skirmisher, and level 3 controller. Now, here's the thing that you have to remember. You're not stuck at level 1 just because you're doing a level 1 encounter.
Mm-hmm.
You have all that XP you can spend. Now, it's not a good idea to throw them a level 5 monster, even if they can still, get it. I wouldn't go past level, 2 levels above. But let's go ahead and make, are these all just a ragtag group of things, or do they obviously have some sort of command?
Ragtag, but almost mind-controlled.
Ragtags are almost mind-controlled. So
they're working for the dragon, but it's not like an army. They're not polished in what they're doing.
Okay. So would you want just, they're coming at them with knives and spears and just
For the first set.
rock weapons and whatever. So what I would do is you can actually, a good way to throw a bunch of characters into a panic without putting them in immediate danger is to throw a whole bunch of minions at them. Mm-hmm. Minions are worth a quarter XP of what their level is. Okay. So instead of being a standard monster worth 100 XP, they're worth 25 because they only have 1 hit point.
Okay. It freaks them out because there's so many running out.
Exactly. It's a great way to throw an army at someone without, throwing an army at someone. However, it does come with a caveat where if the minions all roll great, they're going to be flooded with minions and be dead before they can move. Or if the players roll great, all the minions are going to be dead and they're never going to move again. You could have a Dragonborn that has enhanced dragon breath and all the minions are there, and if he hits every single minion, that's 25 minions down.
Well, that's just a lucky shot there.
Exactly. So while you can throw a bunch of minions at them, let's take half your XP and throw in, what's 25? What's 300 divided by 25?
75. I think.
No.
Well, if it's 25 for every 100, it makes sense to be 75.
Well, it's 16. No, 12.
Okay.
Wow, my math is terrible tonight. I've been up a while.
You've been up a while.
I didn't sleep last night.
That's your own fault.
So let's go ahead and throw. Let's throw 8 level 1 minion artilleries.
Sounds good.
The goblin snipers. So if they're ambushed, you can make your map so that they're in a higher area, and as soon as people enter the cave, they just start slinging rocks at them. So go ahead and make a note that 200 XP worth of XP is being used for 8 goblin snipers. Now, do you want them to be riding something, or do you want them to just... Okay. So
no point in riding if you're in a cave. That
takes out the beast rider. I mean, you can still skin him as something else, but he's on a mounted unit and a lot faster than anything else you're going to throw at him. Now, let's go ahead and look at some level 3 stuff. So, you've got your artillery at the top. Mm-hmm. They're giving them a little panic, because it's just sheer numbers at them, firing things at them.
Yes.
We've still got 400 XP to work with. Let's throw them something harder to hit.
Okay.
To make sure they don't destroy everything.
Well, yeah, you throw 1 or 2 stronger pieces in the mix.
So, we've got the options of a level 1 Goblin Cutthroat and a level 3 Hobgoblin Battle Guard.
Let's go with the Cutthroat.
Cutthroat? So, you have the option to put 4 of those on the field, or just put a couple of them on the field and save your XP for later.
Let's just do 2.
And also, just make sure you look at all these stuff, such as this one has The goblin can shift up to 3 squares. He has a dagger and a short sword. Both do different damage. Goblin tactics triggered. The goblin is missed by a melee attack. Immediate reaction. Goblin shifts 1 square.
Okay.
They're shifty buggers. If you miss them, they'll move around and make sure that you can't get a hit on them, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So how many of those do you want in there?
2.
2? So you're up to 400 XP used. You've still got 200 left. Do you want a leader of any kind, or is it still just an army of stuff?
I think we're good with just the army of stuff.
Just the army of stuff. Okay. You still got 200 XP to use. Would you like to set a trap at the beginning of it? Traps are kind of like monsters, where they use XP to put them in an encounter, and, basically you spend money to build a trap instead of building a monster.
Mm-hmm.
And you can just lay it down wherever you want in the field.
Not a bad idea.
So let's look at some of the traps in the DMG. In the DMG, starting on page 85, we have traps and hazards. And each of them cost some XP.
Of course.
So we have something like a false floor pit. So, a Burmese tiger trap.
I do like that.
We have rock slides. We have a spear gauntlet, but that's an obstacle that they can get around.
I think the rock slide would make the most sense inside the cave.
So basically you just have a couple goblins up in the roof and, people walk through, they throw a lever and a bunch of rocks come down.
Yeah.
Okay. So those are 100 XP each.
We got 200 spent, so why don't we do 2?
You want 2 rock slides in there?
Oh, that's a lot, ain't it?
Well, here's the thing. It's a close burst 3. So basically, you set up the rock slide where it's going to be, and in a 3x3 square on the map is where that rock slide
Okay, so it's not as big as thought, so yeah, let's do 2.
Makes sense?
Yeah.
So you just gotta...
I was thinking it'd cover most of the cave floor, but no.
Yep.
Depending on the size of the cave, we could easily fit 2 in there.
But also remember that traps have things like counter conditions and hazards. Actually, a hazard is the rockfall itself.
Yeah.
But they can also save from traps.
Well, yeah, if they dart out of the way in time or nimble enough to avoid it.
Such as a rock slide. Perception. Characters can't use perception to detect this hazard.
Nice.
Additional skills, nature or dungeoneering. A DC 20 nature or dungeoneering check notices a rock formation is unstable. So they can still detect it. Unfortunately, they're probably going to be too preoccupied in the middle of a fight to notice.
Exactly.
It has an initiative of +3. Whether or not you want to use that as the initiative or just wait for them to get close by is completely up to you. But remember that just like a monster, traps have an attack.
Mm-hmm.
So you have a chance to completely F over someone by dropping them into an acid pit. Or, they could roll high on their reflex and just skip over it as if it was a lovely little daisy. There are countermeasures. Oh, and also the rock slide has a sustain. The rock slide continues for 1d4 rounds, so you roll a d4 and the rock slide is still ongoing and moving during that time.
Okay.
The burst area is difficult terrain during and after the rock slide. So basically,
makes sense.
You created difficult terrain that it's hard for the characters to move through while it's doing damage.
And even after it's done.
Yep. So that is something that a lot of monsters try to do, but traps are they're very glass cannon-ish. You could always have a character, fall for every single trap. Or you could have a character trigger absolutely no traps and just infuriate you because you're making all these encounters and just handing them XP for stuff they didn't end up disarming. It is kind of a trap shoot with traps. So we have that encounter. Let's talk about your dragon.
Okay.
A solo creature is worth a bunch of hit points.
Yep.
Basically, it's worth 5 times more hit points than your average monster.
Okay.
You have your brutes, your standards, your minions, and your solos.
Yep.
So it goes minion are weak, one-shots. Standard are your average everyday thing. Brutes are basically damage sponges. And solos can really handle themselves in a fight. So let's talk about this dragon.
Okay.
Let's open the Dragonomicon, why don't we?
Ooh, gotta love dragons.
The thing about Dungeons & Dragons is much along the lines of its namesake. There is a dragon for every level. So, solos, because you are level 1, you kind of want to keep your solos around the same level.
We didn't decide if they would be level 1 or not. I said I would rather have them level up a few times first.
For the sake of this right now, we're just going to call it level 1.
Okay.
Do you want this to be a difficult fight or an easy fight?
Difficult.
Difficult? So let's ratchet it up to a level 3 encounter.
Okay.
And make it so it's worth 900 points. That gives you a little more leeway for a solo monster. So let's instead open up the monster vault instead of the Dragonomicon because things. Goblin, dragon. You don't have to use a dragon, but why not use a dragon since it's already written down?
Yeah.
Dwarf, dryad, drider, drake, dragonborn, dragon. So, we have things such as a fledgling white dragon, which is a level 1 brute worth a level 1 solo brute, which is worth 500 XP. Not close to 900, but you can always throw a couple traps in there, or even have the dragon having a little few minions around.
Sure. Or I go with the stronger dragon, though.
You'd rather go with a stronger dragon? So, we have a young white dragon, which is worth 750 XP.
Well, the thing is, if it works with my story, you can't be young.
You can reskin it however you want. That's the thing.
That's true.
Just because it's called a young white dragon, it could just be a stunted growth. You said he was a cursed human. Mm-hmm. Cursed humans probably don't look a lot like actual dragons.
That's true.
He may look for a dragon for, its namesake, but who knows? Now we're getting into the 20,000s. Let's not go into the 20,000s. You're nowhere near that.
No, that's a toughie.
That's like epic level. So it looks like the highest level dragon you can get is a young black dragon.
Works for me.
The thing is, dragons tend to have the same set of skills.
Mm-hmm.
Their coloration changes their abilities.
Okay.
So basically, you can take any dragon and change the color on it and reskin it to be something completely different, such as...
Quite literally.
Well, yeah. So white dragons usually do cold damage. Green dragons do poison damage. Black dragons do necrotic damage. Metallic dragons do whatever God knows they want to do. But let's say, you have your young black dragon.
Okay.
It does acidic damage. Do you want an acidic dragon, or is he going to be the classic fire-breathing dragon?
I think it could be kind of fun to play with.
But, if you don't want him to be acidic, just change it to fire. Everything that says acidic in here, change to fire. Solos also come with the extra thing of they have action points, just like players. Such as dragons have 2 action points.
Sweet.
They can reroll things or take extra actions unlike normal monsters. They are essentially the player character version of a monster.
Nice.
So, these guys, make sure you give your PCs a rest before you actually give them, feed them to the dragon.
Well, that's the fun part.
Also remember that dragons and lots of other solos have extra stuff that happens when they are bloodied. Dragons, it's affectionately known as explode when they bleed. Basically, you hit them in their femoral artery and they scream and breathe more fire on top of you.
Well, if he's acidic, we can make his blood acidic.
That's actually one of the things that happens. I think acidic wound or something like that.
Probably.
Acidic blood. Whenever the dragon takes damage while it is bloody, each creature adjacent to it takes 5 acidic damage. So don't stand around it. And don't
poke it and run away.
Don't hit it from melee. Pretty much. Just the only thing with solos is there's usually a lot to keep track of with a solo, and it's almost
you
more...
need a whole character sheet for him.
Exactly. But
it gives them more of a character themselves, because you don't want a flat bad guy. Because then there's nothing there.
Yep. But we have your monsters. We've talked about solo encounters. We have traps. We have stuff like that. We'll talk about next time, like actually building the map for an encounter. And we're going to touch on an actual dungeon crawl instead of the usual play-by-play encounter that we have. But until next time on the DMG Workshop, I'm Jacob.
And it's the Kate.
Bye.
See yas.
Thank you for listening to the Nat 20 podcast. If you like what you heard, please give us a good rating on iTunes. If you want to see the video version, please take a look at us at Security Goats on YouTube. Have a good day.
If you have any questions, comments, concerns, or just sarcastic remarks, please email us at nat20podcast@gmail.com.